all things Marvel. I want to thank everybody for coming here. I especially want to thank everybody at Midtown Comics for providing us with this amazing location, as they always do, and they're just great to us, and for selling our product. Yay, Midtown. I'm sorry we don't have a teleprompter here, so I got my little mini teleprompter here. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about today, so I'll try to get through it briefly because I know you guys want to get to the good stuff. Let me give you sort of an idea of, actually, before I even start, I want to introduce two people who are going to be up here with me shortly, and those are our two executive editors, vice president executive editors. It is a mouthful of a title, but believe me, these two guys, the title doesn't do them justice. They really do all the heavy lifting and publishing, and I'm simply the pretty face that Marvel hires to come up here and talk to you guys. But Mr. Tom Brevoort, Mr. Axel Alonso, they're back there waving. So just a quick schedule of what's going to happen here. In a few minutes, we're going to show you a short trailer. Then after that, we have a secret message from a mystery guest who will be reporting to us deep from his bunker underground in an undisclosed location. It is not Julian Assange, I can tell you this, but it is somebody very, very, very close in gravitas. So after that, we're then gonna give you a few images of the project. And then we're going to open it up to questions here. We got the questions from the press who are here, from some fans who've been lucky enough to make it in today. And I think on Twitter, we're also getting questions from Marvel.com. So thank you for those of us, you guys who are joining us streaming live. And then after that, for the people that are here, stick around. I got a few surprise announcements. Once again, I want to thank everybody for braving the cold and coming out for the announcement of our blockbuster event for summer of 2011. I know you're dying to know what it is, but before that, I just want to get a little serious here, and I want to say a few words. Look, times are tough. Unemployment is at an all-time high. Families are losing their homes, and worldwide economies are on the brink, and there's dissent and division basically everywhere you look. All you need to do really is turn on a TV, a computer, a radio, and you're sure to find a pundit, politician, a prophet who's out there ready to tell you what you should be afraid of, who's responsible, and why you should be afraid of them. It's a world divided. At the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, who should you trust? Who do you trust? 24-hour news cycles, weather change, WikiLeaks, depression, recession, bailouts, bankers. If you're anything like me, heck, it's a great time to be fearful. If you're anything like any of the people out there who deal in fear and who like to gain from fear, well, what the heck? It's just a good time, right? And let's face it, friends, the world has gotten smaller, and today, more than ever, fear, above all else, seems to be the great motivator. And there's no shortage of charlatans, tyrants, or despots really ready to stoke the flames. All they need is a spark. Now here's the good news. We're talking about the Marvel Universe.
This is preeminently the time to speak the truth, all truth, frankly and boldly. Nor need we shrink from honestly facing conditions in our country today. This great nation will endure as it has endured. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
My thanks to FDR. Anyway, so Matt Fraction, Stuart Immonen, Wade Von Grawbadger, and Laura Martin are the creative team. And as any diehard Marvel fan can tell you, and I know there's some diehards out here, Marvel Comics have always used the real world as the canvas on which we write and draw our stories and on which our characters live. From World War II to Apollo 11 to September 11th, the events that shaped our world have shaped the Marvel Universe. Truth of the matter is, the reason Marvel Comics has always excelled, actually when we're at our best, is when we've taken stock of the world we live in the era in which we're a part of, and said something about it. Civil War, for example, resonated with fans and beyond because it's reminded our heroes that they live in the same world that we all do, and that these heroes represent the very best of us, and as they struggle to triumph against the very worst. Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, the Avengers. Truthfully, has there ever been a time when we needed our heroes more? And what about us? What about the Avengers that live deep inside of each one of us? Are we truly the ones we've been waiting for? So come this April, all of this is going to be put to a test. What happens when the world gets to a point where despair is so prevalent and seems the norm? Like us, will our heroes stand and fight, or will they give in to what they fear the most? In a world of fear, the line, as you know, between hero and villain is going to be pretty blurred and probably far too easy to cross. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, who will be the 8th most worthy on the planet? So I'm done here, but now, coming straight from his bunker, running low on oxygen, 80 feet underground in some undisclosed location, Portland, is Mr. Matt Fraction.
Marvel Summer Event, starting in April 2011 by me and Stuart Immonen. I've waited a really long time to be able to talk about this, so here we go. The story should be relatable to where we are today. Like the best of all Marvel stuff, it's something that speaks to the world we live in. It feels like there's this great shadow over us all, this anxiousness, this anger. It feels like reason and discourse have taken a backseat to mob mentality and hysteria, and everyone is afraid of something right now. And if you doubt me and you're getting on an airplane the next few days, enjoy that guy who touches your business. Think a little bit about how afraid we are of each other. The Marvel heroes versus the God of Fear. The more you fear him, the stronger he gets, and we are all his weapons. This is the very best that mankind has to offer versus the very worst of the gods. These are our characters that we know and love fighting a world-ending, extinction-grade threat, and I promise you will not feel underserved at any level of involvement. Just wait until we start teasing who the worthy are and why they were chosen. I'm going to stop because I'm not sure how much we're actually telling you guys today. So get ready, get excited. This summer, when the whole world is watching Marvel characters and thinking about Thor and thinking about Captain America and aware of just how amazing these guys are, we are going to be busting the doors down with the biggest story we've ever told. Thanks for your time, happy holidays, and stay safe, everybody. Bye.
Cool. Obviously, they don't have razor blades in his bunker. So, speaking of razor blades, let me introduce to you Mr. Tom Brevoort, who is heading the Fear Itself story himself. Tom, want to come up here and say a few words and show a little
First off, I have to say, this is the earliest in the morning I have ever seen Joe Quesada. So you know this is important. Obviously, Fear Itself is a story we've been building up to for quite some time. We took last year off of doing any big, huge events because most of you guys told us you needed kind of a break to catch your breath and settle things down because we were going helter-skelter, thing after thing after thing. And it's not like we haven't done exciting stories since then, but nothing quite to the scale of Fear Itself in quite some time. Fear Itself will be, in terms of its size and scope across the Marvel Universe, will be analogous to something like Secret Invasion that covers and impacts a multitude of titles, and it's probably as ambitious in its own way as Civil War, and I don't say that lightly. It will kick off, the actual Fear Itself series is 7 issues. It will begin in April. In March, as a lead-in, Ed Brubaker and Scott Eaton are doing the Fear Itself prologue, named to be revealed later, which will involve Cap and Namor and the Invaders and a mission in World War II that sets the stage for what is to come in the main Fear Itself book. I think you also you have another slide, and just a quick peek at the formative incarnation of this mysterious character who will mean a great deal to the Marvel Universe. There is a secret. There is a concealed act at the heart of the Marvel Universe that happened years ago that once it is uncovered will change everything. Will change the way our characters look at each other, our characters look at their place in the world, and will unleash something unspeakable that's been tamped down for decades and hundreds of years and will now be free to flourish and cast its shadow across the world. And that, in essence, is what Fear Itself is about. To join me now, and to help me with this enormous banner, Let me bring up my fellow Vice President, Executive Editor, the good one, Axel Alonso.
You take this down?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
I think,
Is it
we just,
okay or what?
I think it's just right at the top. So. Well, I'm scared. You know, and you can speak a little bit more to this along with me, but Fear itself will function as most of our event stories have tended to function. If you're just buying the central core title, you'll be able to get a full and complete story, and it will be wonderful. But the outgrowth of that story will feed throughout the Marvel Universe. It's going to involve, you know, characters as diverse as the line itself. So there will be X-Men involvement. Dracula will be involved. The Hulk, the Avengers, Spider-Man, pretty much anybody that you could think of within the Marvel Universe will be touched in some way by the events that are to unfold in Fear itself. It's going to be a fairly massive undertaking, but the good news is, at whatever level you choose to buy in, you know, whatever titles that you're reading that are already involved, any titles that you may be intrigued by, we'll be launching a couple of things as part of this. You know, hopefully we've built this in such a way that you'll get a good, fulfilling experience, no matter what your level of involvement. And hopefully you'll want to check out more than usual.
Yeah, and as Matt said, it's an extinction level. It's an extinction level event. Say that 5 times quickly. That will involve the entire Marvel universe. You know, just like Civil War, there'll be a core story that you can read in one full sitting and get the full story. But there's shadings of the story that you can find elsewhere. It's a major event that involves everyone. Expect major participation from the X-Men, from Dracula. Again, this is global. And like in Civil War, expect to see interesting developments, pacts between characters, alliances you wouldn't have expected, and instances where heroes and villains find themselves on opposite sides of the battle lines in ways you wouldn't expect. Plenty of secrets.
Yeah, we've been setting up dominoes sort of covertly for a while now. Some that you know and recognize and have chatted about on the internet, and some that you may have glossed right over and right past, not even realizing their significance. And you know, the tapestry and the pattern of all of this will become apparent as we get into April and beyond.
Cool. I guess we can open it for questions right now.
Yeah.
And by the way, let me just say that Tom and Axel always look so cute together. Something
I
about
wanted to
these
blow
guys.
up my beard to beat Tom, but I didn't have enough time.
You didn't have 6 months to
Yeah.
All right,
prepare.
so who's got questions here? Anybody?
I'll jump how much of, because one of the things obviously with Civil War that made it so successful is that it really injected a lot of, you know, modern political and societal, I mean, how much is going into this story, given that it's about a god of fear, but it still seems like there's some undercurrent?
Well, the first thing is it was sort of the climate in the world today was certainly the inspiration for this as we started to think about the bigger stories for the Marvel Universe. You will absolutely see the real world interject itself into this story because it's undeniable that there's a certain something in the air right now. And like Marvel always does, we tend to tap into that, whether consciously or unconsciously, and it affects all our stories. And the truth of the matter is that when we do that, it brings out the best in our creators because they all feel passionate about these issues. So you will see some of that, but you know, like all great Marvel stories, all of this is really told through the eyes and the stories of our heroes as the metaphor for us and you know the heroes that we aspire to be and hopefully become.
Yeah, so Civil War touched on plenty of issues, but Civil War was really, at its heart, a superhero story. It was about superheroes punching the daylights out of one another. You know, and while we got into some fairly meaty issues in the course of telling that, if you read it just on the surface as, you know, an 8-year-old kid, it's Iron Man and Captain America are gonna have a fist fight. The same kind of thought process goes into Fear itself. There are definitely some issues that you know, we want to discuss and let our characters deal with, but it's all going to be within some superhuman context. So it won't just be these guys sitting around on a bread line somewhere or worrying that they're going to foreclose on Avengers Tower.
There's plenty of action set pieces, of course. I mean, we have some that made us giddy when we were talking about them in the big room. And we've had many meetings about this, fine-tuning this, to get to the point that we're thoroughly confident that you're going to be blown out of your seats.
Anyone else?
From Twitter and Facebook, a lot of fans are asking questions about specific characters. And I don't know what we can talk about right now with Captain Britain, Nightmare, Phobos. What comics should we direct fans to check out, maybe that are already out, or lines, hints that we can give looking to Fear Itself?
I think, I mean, when you get down to individual characters, particularly characters that aren't in existing titles right now, it's a little premature. Some of those characters are going to be involved. You know, for Phobos, I would immediately say, well, Secret Warriors might be a good starting point, being as that's where he appears or has been appearing until recently, month in and month out. When you get to Captain Britain and Nightmare, who are not, not so relevant on a monthly basis, it's a little early for us to be able to point to exactly where. But as we get a little closer, we're finishing we're about to announce our March solicits. We're going to be going towards April solicits in a month. Some of that information will become more obvious as we get closer.
Yeah, there are some fan favorite characters who will be using this as a springboard. They'll feel a call to duty and get involved. Those will be future announcements.
Yeah. So but it's not like at this point I can say, well, Nightmare is going to be in this project we haven't announced yet. Once we're at the point where we're going to be, showcasing all these other various ancillary titles and things, that information will come out.
Who else? Fan section, go.
Hey, hi. My name's Louis. I just want to ask, how does this tie into the recent Avengers arc with the whole Map of Time or Marvel Time map?
Well, in terms of the Avengers, the recent Avengers arc had a map of time and had a bunch of different events on it. Now, having made this announcement, if you go back to that map, you will see certainly a couple of references and portents, and actually, once you get into and through the Fear Itself story, a few more that will make more sense. So there is a little bit of a Rosetta Stone there if you want to try and decipher it. It won't be easy, but it might be rewarding, and you can lord it over the guy standing next to you.
What else?
A little less than a year ago, it seemed that the Marvel Universe was coming out of its dark, despotic, carnage, death, murder, darkness era for a while, and you guys got the heroic age. What do you say to the critics or people, fans, who are going to say, oh no, here we go again, they're going back into the dark, death, secrets, oh my god, the Marvel Universe will never be the same again?
Tom? Yeah.
I think that our characters have always battled the darkness around us. The villainy and the threats that they faced at any given point have not been a game of tiddlywinks or all sweetness and light. So while over the course of the last year there's been a renewed vigor and a renewed heroism, this is just a major challenge that these characters have to face. And ultimately, that's, I think, is more interesting. Putting our characters into situations where it's easy to triumph is not terribly fulfilling. Doesn't get the best out of them, doesn't give you the best reading experience. We want to hammer them in a crucible that pounds them down to their very essence, and sees exactly what they're made of and how much they can take and how much they can lift and how much they can triumph over adversity, the same kind of adversity that people all around the globe are dealing with in a slightly different way right now. So it's not necessarily a movement back to darkness and murder and violence and death, although there will certainly be some of that because it's a Marvel comic and the stakes have to be high for our heroes' triumph to be worthwhile.
And the truth of the matter is that when it comes to any aspect of storytelling, there's the art of it, right? And there is tension, and then there is release, and there is tension, and there is release. But it's tension that drives you there. It's tension that brings you to the story. So at the end of the day, if we announce a Marvel event where, hey, guess what? Nothing is happening, and everybody's just going to be sort of frolicking through golden fields of corn, no one's going to care. At the end of the day, we have to put our heroes through a crucible, as Tom says, and that's what they're designed to do. And Marvel characters, because they're based on real people and they live in the real world, they deal with real problems. So sometimes that real problem could be as small as Peter Parker needed to get is the medicine to Aunt May in time before she has a heart attack, or it could be a Skrull invasion. So it's just a matter of how you cast it, how you frame it, and where you go from there. The bottom line is we live and die not by whether it's dark and morose or eventful or not, but by how good the story is. If we deliver a good story, then at the end of the day, fans will be satisfied. And when that story is over and the tension is released, there will be a point of release again, and then there'll be time of tension again. It won't be. It's not the first or the last time that this will happen in storytelling. And it's not just Marvel; it's anywhere you look. It's part of classical storytelling. You need to put your character through the paces in order to find out what they're really, really made of. In this case, we put the universe through its paces to make sure that it's worthy of its name, which is the greatest comic book universe on the planet. That's it.
I was just wondering, I think a lot of the reasons people really connected with an event like Civil War was that a lot of the creators and characters sort of represented political viewpoints and not just of like real world events, but real world politics. And I was wondering how much of that we'll see here, because I think a lot of what you're talking about is vaguely politically based, perhaps.
Well, it's more tonal in this case, and I think it's more relatable in the sense that it's a different story in the sense that our heroes may be going through a lot of what it is that we're going through. And as we look at our heroes, I mean, every one of us has our own favorite hero. We overlap in a lot of places. And the reason take Spider-Man, for example, right? I think the reason we relate to Spider-Man so much is because most of us either see ourselves as Spider-Man or know someone who is exactly like Peter Parker. And what makes Spider-Man so albeit relatable is the fact that he goes through all of the same things that so many of us do, whether it's going to school, losing his girlfriend, losing his marriage, so many of these things.
What?
Yes, sorry. but that's the essence of Spider-Man. So looking at that model, all our characters have been developed over time in that same sort of mold. And that's the world that we live in today, and the world of fear itself. And what happens when the climate on the planet is a certain way, where, as I mentioned before, there is a spark and things start to roll and cascade. And what do these characters that we see so much of ourselves in, how do they react? In essence, how do we react? So again, if we do our job right, we will see a lot of ourselves or a lot of our humanity in the story. And I can assure you that Matt Fraction is the perfect guy for this, because as he speaks about just the world today, and not even on a political basis, just on an overall sort of moral basis, he's very in tune to what's going on, and he does have his own views, as will all our other creators have their very own views about this. And again, that was what made Civil War so great. It wasn't just the different political views or the social views, it was the fact that each one of our writers had a little bit of a different view than the other. So you may even see like shifts in stories where you're like, wow, the character didn't act exactly the same, but that was kind of the fun of it for me. So I think Fear itself will also be very much in that mold.
The core question of Civil War was how much of your freedom are you willing to give up for more security? And that's something I think the readers related to, whether it was the fanboy who goes to the comic book store every Wednesday, or the mass of readers that came curious after reading a New York Times article or something and felt like this was a jumping on point. With Fear itself, we're looking at the same type of thing. As Joe said early on, this is a world in which all of us in this room are urged on a daily basis by some talking head to point fingers at other people for what's worrying you now, what's troubling you now.
Or to duck and cover.
Yeah, duck and cover. And, as Joe mentioned, this is a really good time to be profiting on the anxiety that people have. Everyone has their mind's eye picture as to who it is. They might be left of center, right of center. I don't know who's worrying you these days. Maybe it's the threat of a bomb in Times Square, or your foreclosure on your upside down mortgage. You get the gist. The long and short of it is, with Fear itself, we're trying to tap into, I hate to use this word, but the zeitgeist of the day, which is something we all relate to right now, and say something about it without revealing our cards as Republicans or Democrats or liberals or conservatives. This is something that encompasses the Marvel U. It's the vocabulary is superheroes punching each other, and again, the core characters will be dressed in armor. They'll have green skin. They'll have shields. So we intend to do this in a way that's thrilling and not a political treatise.
Superheroes pumping each other. You're writing checks that I cannot cash.
Yeah. In the Max book, in the Max line, perhaps. But, yeah.
Not to go on a tangent, but will the new relaunch of FF tie in at all with Fear itself, or will that stand alone for now?
We haven't said much about what's going on with FF, and I'm going to continue that thing. But whatever is there, whatever is left of the Fantastic Four, after the sad Death Bag issue that is soon to come, those characters will certainly be involved in Fear itself.
And yes, Deadpool will be involved too.
When we look back at the beginning of the first issue of New Avengers, there's a clue about Secret Invasion in there. I'm curious how long you guys were going to see anything to this. You could tell, like specifically if there was an issue or something that
I think it's certainly, I'm going to say 18 months, but it could be 2 years, it could be 15 months. I'm just kind of guesstimating. And again, the closer we come and the more of this stuff comes out, the clearer it will be, in the same sort of way that, everybody goosed by whatever clues there might have been in that New Avengers scene until we got the Secret Invasion, and really until Brian went out and said, yeah, I put stuff in New Avengers #1, and everybody went back and suddenly could read that scene with a slightly different take on it. There are a couple of moments and a couple of things that have happened over the course of the last year and a half that feed into where Fear itself is going to be. But I hate to point to them too concretely, because part of the fun of this, particularly for the fans, is finding them and putting the seeds together, and being the guy standing next to the guy that asked about the chart, going, I got this piece over here, look at that, and being one step ahead of his fellows and sometimes us.
And speaking to the X-Men line, there's a number of relationships that have been developed in the last year that will really pay off in Fear itself.
Is this going to affect any of Matt Fraction or any of his other books, other projects they're working on?
Well, will it affect Matt
As far as,
Fraction
what they're
and
working on.
Stewart's other projects? Well, Matt's going to continue to write the books he's been writing, Thor and Iron Man. We already talked about him scaling back his involvement in X-Men and working with Kieran Gillen on that, so that's already there, and this is part of the reason for that. In terms of Stewart, I think we talked about, because I got a million questions about it when the last bunch of solicits came out, that Stewart is coming off of New Avengers in order to do Fear itself. He's already well into Fear itself at this point. Oh, it's fallen over. And that will be what he's on full-time for the moment. So if you loved him and the rest of the crew on New Avengers, except for Brian, they will all be in Fear itself. I'm going to put it down now because it's going to fast.
What's the price point of Fear itself? The movie series?
I believe it's $3.99, but the first issue is huge. The first issue is about 45 pages long, so it may actually be uppriced. I don't have the information off the top of my head. It'll be a big, massive first issue, a solid chunk, an encyclopedia volume.
Not so clear.
Entree.
And the following issues in season 2?
Yes, except probably the last one will go long, because we always go long on the last one.
All right, I'm going to ask a question that I'm sure you're not going to be able to answer, but I've been intrigued by this particular piece of artwork.
I'll hold it up.
Steve Rogers in the Captain America outfit. As a fan of Bucky Cap, does this lead us to believe where that series is going?
It can lead you to believe really whatever you like. At the moment, Bucky is enmeshed in a fairly crucial trial involving his past crimes as the Winter Soldier and his right to be Captain America and carry that shield. This could mean anything. I don't want to put draw too fine a line under it. Although I think if you're counting him out this quickly, like so many have, been notching the notches on their wall, going, oh, Steve's going to be back eventually. You might be counting your chickens a little early, but I don't want to say too much, because we have a fabulous Ed Brubaker story that's going on in Cap, and I don't want to get in the way of that.
More questions?
A lot of fans who came in late
Yes.
to the conference and everything. wanted
Fear
to-
itself!
Ah,
Late.
They want to know.
And you still want to
how
ask
this-
their questions?
How this breaks down as far as issues, tie-ins, the one shot. If you guys could just go over that one last
I
time.
will go over it one more time.
Thank you, Tom.
For the sake of the folks out in internet land. In March, the Fear Itself prologue one-shot by Ed Brubaker and Scott Eaton. Big, oversized story set during the halcyon days of Cap and Namor and the Invaders battling the Red Skull and dealing with something that will have an immediate effect the next month when Fear Itself proper begins. Fear Itself will run for 7 issues, 7 months. It will tie into a bevy of titles along the scale of Secret Invasion. So just as a guesstimate, the number of tie-ins that we had for Secret Invasion around that level of thing. Those will include, dedicated books. Those will include issues of ongoing titles. Those will include new things that we launched. Those will include books that are similar to the frontline books that we did in the past, or some of the other battle reports and things during Civil War and Secret Invasion and so forth. None of which we've announced yet. Whatever your involvement is, we're trying to build each of these so that it can stand and tell a story unto itself that connects to the larger super story in a satisfying way. And hopefully we'll be that good, and if we're not, you will all tell me about it. and I will take your blows and brickbats.
Yeah.
5616.
That's Spidey. How are you?
Good. I was curious how much Fear itself relates to the recent Architects group, writers group.
It relates in that Matt Fraction was one of the architects, and he's working on it.
Right.
There's not really much more direct correlation than that. You know, certainly some of the other guys that are architects may be doing issues of their own titles or other things that tie in, but it's not a one-to-one correlation. The architects aren't specifically the architects of Fear itself. They're sort of the architects of the larger Marvel universe and creators that we think are very important, you know, to our long-term, our short-term, and our recent past that matter so greatly to us and that we love.
Okay. A few more questions? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm just wondering, you know, Civil War had such a huge effect on the Marvel Universe even after the story was over. How much is this something the characters are just going to go through, or how much is it going to shake things up even after the event is over?
We generally speaking, and I think we've been pretty true to this every time we've done a fairly massive event story like this, there's tended to be some sort of ramification or after effect that's shaken up the Marvel Universe or changed its status quo in some way for months thereafter. Heroic Age is kind of the last one of those. You know, really was the afterthought of Siege and the Dark Reign stuff that came before it. Fear itself will be no exception. The shape and tenor and scale and size and demeanor and so forth of the Marvel Universe. Once we're done with all of this, we'll once again have readjusted in some subtle but meaningful way that will impact on all of these characters. So this won't be a story where they go off, they fight, they win, they have a pizza, and they forget about it the next month. It will be a sad story that they refer to again and again and again until you are sick to death of hearing about it and remembering it. But in a good way.
Okay, folks, I think we're going to wrap up. And but before anybody leaves today, I just want to say that for the folks who are in attendance today, we actually have a special print of Stuart Immoner's artwork of the Avengers that he did. Oh, we'll hold up our Fear itself. Thank you. And for everybody who's
it's
here,
all done.
Right. Look at that. Look at that.
It's gonna be easy.
$200. Who's that? Anyway, so we have a special limited print here of Stuart Immoner's Heroes
artwork, yep.
promo artwork. And Tom, Axel, and myself, we're going to do a little mini signing here. So if you guys stick around, you'll get a little exclusive collector's piece and you can home with. And I want to thank our press friends here for coming today, and Marvel.com for being here. All the guys at Marvel Marketing who helped us out with this, and all the fans, especially who came today, who signed up and got the lucky golden ticket, whatever it was that got you in here. So you guys get a little signing of stuff, and that's it, folks. And our friends online, thank you very much for being there and streaming with us. And for those of you who weren't there, I know who you are, and I'm going to come knocking on your door and yell at you. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much.